I often get asked by ex-Linux users whether GhostBSD or FreeBSD needs an antivirus. Now, maybe they've used an antivirus on Linux out of habit from when they used to use Windows, and they usually say that they use ClamAV. Now, you can get ClamAV for GhostBSD and FreeBSD, but it's not directly downloadable from the ClamAV website. You've got Windows, Linux, and others, but not FreeBSD, GhostBSD. And so in the software station, which is GhostBSD's own GUI package manager, we can search for Clam, which will give you ClamAV. So we select ClamAV, and down at the bottom we ClamTk, which is like a graphical interface for ClamAV. So with them two selected, we can go to Apply, and it should start downloading. It's going to pull in a few extra things, of course, but, you know, it's not too bad. As you can see. And we can confirm and start the installation process. Let's fast forward. Are we finished? Yeah, we should be good to go. Now, we really don't need to configure anything out of the box. It will tend to work as it is. But just in case you need to tweak anything, change some settings, first we go into sudo. And then we will need to, well, I'm just going to change this to sh shell. So there, that's what I'm used to using. Nothing wrong with fish, but I prefer to use this. So we need to edit a file. Let's edit usr /local/etc/ and then the file itself is freshclam.conf. And like I said, you don't have to change anything if you don't want. You could leave things as they are, but it's here just if you want to tweak some settings. If you're perhaps more advanced knowledge of ClamAV and stuff like that, you can just change it to suit your needs. I think the defaults will do most people. So like I said, and everything's documented in the actual configuration file anyway. So we'll come out of that and no, if I can spell it right, of course. If you type in fresh clam, it will bring, I'll pull down the latest definitions. So it's really updating, and you're going to get the proper, the right database for the virus definitions, etc. So it's pulling it down. I'll fast forward this. What are we doing? Yeah, okay. And you get a little warning. I mean, this warning is because I've not started it yet. I've just updated before starting the daemon, really. Now, if we edit rc.conf, we can get it so it can start up in the background. It won't check your viruses in the background. That's not what it does. It kind of loads it ready to be used, so it's quicker in the background, if you understand what I mean. So it's not going to be protecting you while you're doing other things, but it's going to be loaded up so it loads faster when you need it. So if you put ClamD and fresh clam to enable, and that will start them up when you start the system. And if you want to start them now you can put service ClamAV _ fresh clam start. So it's now running in the background. And service ClamAV _ ClamD for the daemon. So the fresh clam will update in the background, and the daemon itself will be running in the background, so things run quicker. Right. So I think it's done. Right. So let's have a look. If we go down to there it is, look, ClamTk. Right, it's a good looking menu. Nice and simple. And we'll look at the various ones in turn. So first one we'll look at is settings. And I'd recommend you scan files larger than 20 megabytes and scan directories recursively. So it goes within folders within a directory. So it scans everything basically. And we'll leave the bottom one as it is. So now that we've done that, you can scan a directory if you want. You can scan individual files, but you can scan entire directories. And automatically, by default, it goes to your home folder. And of course, you can get out of that direct scan directories other than that, of course. So once you begin scanning a directory, it will go through the various files and folders within that directory, because that's where the recursiveness comes from. And here I am just scanning some BBC micro files, ROMs, and disk images, etc. I should imagine that these are clean. Well, I mean, I've stopped it before it's finished, but I know for a fact it's clean. So if we go back to the configuration menus at the top, we've done the settings, and here is the whitelist settings, and you can add directories that you want to whitelist, or remove directories you want to whitelist. Network if you want to set that up, and things like that. Scheduler to set scanning at a certain time. Kind of useful. You do it manually, of course. This is history to show what we've done. So we've just scanned a home directory, so we can view that. And it shows you the files that's been scanned. That's cool. And you can delete that if you want to. You can quarantine if you find anything suspicious or you're not sure of. Updates. Of course, it shows you that we ran the update before we really started everything off. But it shows you when the update is dated. And this you can update automatically, or you can grab the update yourself. It's easier just to do it automatically, I think. You can scan a file. It's a bit like when you scan a directory, but an individual file in itself. We'll scan this one, and I would imagine it'll be clean. It's just a little Python script. Yep, no threats found. But, you know, it's always wise to scan things. The directory we've seen, and analysis if you find something you're not sure what it is. And you can submit file for analysis if you want. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Hope you never have to, but, you know, that's it's there if you need it. And this is the about. And it's version 6.19. I don't know what the latest one is. I think this was like one version behind, I think, or something like that. But it's not too bad. So, okay. Do you need to do this? Well, I look at it this way, that if you have friends who you pass files to, you download files from to their Windows machine, or maybe you've got a Windows machine on your network and you're downloading stuff there, or you know, you're running emails and whatever it is. If there's like a Windows machine that could possibly be affected, it kind of makes sense to have this and just stay protected. I mean, GhostBSD and FreeBSD itself is relatively safe in comparison to even Linux, which is because it's got a larger share of the market, as it were. It set itself up to more of a target, but I mean, that comes behind macOS and well below Windows. So it's never a bad thing, just in case. You don't have to run it all the time. You can run it when perhaps you've downloaded a Windows program. Anyway, thanks for watching. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've thumbed up one or two of my videos, then please consider subscribing. And if you do subscribe, then please hit that notification bell so you don't miss out when I release a new video, which I'm trying to do on a more regular basis now. And I say, these videos aren't monetized. I don't do it to earn a fortune, because I'm not going to do that anyway. I do it because I love using FreeBSD, I love using GhostBSD, and I love making videos, so, you know, win-win for everybody. But you can help the channel out if you want to by sharing, leaving a comment, or giving a like, and that really helps things along. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.